There's something about death that doesn't set your mind right. Or maybe it's grief, rolling in like a thick fog and muffling everything around you, even memories. Sitting here in Uncle Amos's house. My uncle's house, the very heart of Bluegrass Ridge. I felt both there and somewhere far away. I hadn't seen him in years. I wasn't talking a few or a handful. I was talking like over 10. Heck, maybe even 15. Not since the last time my daddy had set foot in his small Kentucky hometown of Bluegrass Ridge and brought me with him. And he'd been dead for 13 years, so it was well before that. Yet here I was, sitting at his old oak table, surrounded by family I hadn't spoken to in that same amount of time. The smell of worn leather and faint tobacco smoke lingered in the air. Of course, we kept in touch through social media. A like here or there, a comment, even a private message when Uncle Amos had suddenly passed away from what doctors called a widowmaker heart attack, the same thing they said killed my dad. But Uncle Amos and I had not audibly spoken to each other in I didn't know how long. My cousins and I hadn't spoken either, until this week, the funeral, and the hurried reading of the will, for which I had no idea why I was even there. While I was sitting there, thinking of just how I would get my Greyhound bus ticket refunded, or even exchanged to later this week, since I'd clearly not made it back on after Uncle Amos's funeral, I had to look across the old table at my cousin Beau, big and barrel-chested, who was practically buzzing with excitement. His knee bounced under the table, jostling the wood. I saw the gleam in his eyes every time he looked at the lawyer, as if to speed things along. Beside him sat his wife, Maggie, her mouth set in a determined line, her eyes sharp as flint, taking in every word and side glance as if tallying up what she was owed. I'd never met her. Since Daddy had died, my mom hadn't had much to do with the Hollingsworth side of my family. Across from me sat another cousin, Tassie Ruth Hollingsworth Doyle, Beau's sister, her dark curls coiled like springs beneath her wide-brimmed hat. She had her arm looped through her husband, Hunter's, who wore an easy smile. Tassie's eyes, though, were anything but easy. There was an intensity there, an expectation, like she'd been waiting for this day her whole life. I didn't blame them. Uncle Amos's working ranch had to be worth millions of dollars. The land alone was a pretty penny. But I still had no clue why I had to be at the will reading. They all thought they knew what was coming, and maybe I did too. I figured Uncle Amos would leave Beau and Tassie the ranch and whatever was on it, and maybe I'd get this old table. Sentimental, yes, but meaningful, and that seemed just like Amos. And if that was the case, there was no way I'd be able to fit the table in my small city apartment, even though Rowan, my roommate, would flip over this table. I ran my fingers over the tabletop, tracing the smooth, swirling burl wood, feeling the slight dip and rise beneath my hand, as familiar as my own memories.